balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic. Providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, we have some primary results that have come in, and, well, let's just say that if you're a rhino, you might not be very well liked. Indiana had their primaries, and let's just say a vast majority of Trump-backed candidates, ones who were going up against essentially Republicans that did not back the redistricting effort in Indiana. Yeah, they got kicked to the curb. I'll have more on that here in a minute. Plus, if you think that politics is boring, and especially those political ads, oh man, I got one to show you tonight that might actually reinvigorate the politics world for those who are not paying attention. And also I've got a bunch of other things in here as well. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off with tonight's of course festivities. But let me see. I'm trying to think who is the oh goodness, I just switched this over and I have forgotten already who the pledge is for tonight. Pops McGroin. That's right. All right, it's Pops McGroin and partner up for the pledge. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat. Up for the pledge. So if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one. Like me. Yeah, there we go. Things are a little shaky there for a second. Okay. Please stand, remove your hat, and if you're wearing one like me, and follow along with Pops McGroin and partner as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless
America. Yes, God bless America, and I thank you, Pops, as well as partner, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, attach it to an email, and address that email to me. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you in the rotation. I now have 24 of these. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. I have 2 more that I need to acquire before the end of the year to meet my goal. So if you haven't done that yet, I would appreciate it if you would do so soon. And if you use your phone to record it, all you need to do is try the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option, the share option, and send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And, of course, I'll get you into the rotation as soon as possible. My unofficial producer is telling me to pull it together. Kind of tough to do. All right, tonight, of course, is...
Down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
That's right, it's Whiskey Wednesday. It's like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. And here is 1792. I know it's kind of hard to see because of the reflection of my monitors here, but 1792 is what I'm drinking. And as you can see, there's not a whole heck of a lot left in the bottle. And of course, that is being taken from the True Grit Roots Network. That's right, True Grit Roots Network glass. And there's the requisite stones because, of course, it takes stones to drink with whiskey. And, yeah, we'll go ahead and drink out of this glass. So right here, first sip. Oh, goodness, that is some good stuff. Yeah, that 1492 is good stuff. All right. And, because it is TGRN, or True Grit Roots Network night, that is who is our headline sponsor, of course. Head on over to the TGRN.net. That's TGRN.net location on the web. There it is. Where you can take a look at our wonderful website and you can listen to our two signature channels, whether it's Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio or Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio, right here through your web browser. Now, a lot of people think that a web browser only works on PCs or only works on your computer. No, everything has a web browser now, and just about everything can do the web browsing, whether it's your phone or your tablet or whatever. But hey, I understand not many people want to have to open up a web browser, then go to tgrn.net and then click the button. You want to go direct. You want to go direct to the songs and the music and play it through an app. Well, that's easy. You can head on over to tgrn.net, and there they are. You can find the links to click and connect and pick up whichever app or both that you want. Whether it's the App Store, Google Play for both the Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio or the Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio app. We do have two apps, one for each channel. You can pick them up both. You can pick up both, and then you can switch back and forth depending upon what your mood strikes you. And if you want to demonstrate your love for not only tgrn.net, but also for either Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio, Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio, or both, you can head on over to our shop. There it is, right there in the upper. Look at the top part of your screen. I'm flashing the shop click in red. The shop link. You can click on that link, and you'll be taken to our shop at shop.tgrn.net. That's shop.tgrn.net, where you will find wonderful swag in TGRN logo, Walter's Trout Blues Rock Radio logos, or Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio logo. It's in t-shirts, hoodies, and, of course, caps. So if you're interested in getting some swag, head on over to shop.tgrn.net. We've got them in fantastic colors. Pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, pick 6, pick 12. I don't care, of course, obviously, if you pick 12. That would be absolutely fantastic. But you want to make sure that you pick up ones that you like. And if you like all of them, just pick them all up. I mean, pick everything up. I don't care. We would love it. You would be our favorite friend if you picked up everything. Yeah, there you go. Head on over to the True Grit Roots Network store, and it's at shop.tgrn.net. And don't forget to head on over to tgrn.net. Find out about our channels. Find out about what we've got going on, upcoming shows. Find out about our on-air personalities. You can find all of that stuff out by going over to tgrn.net. TGRN stands for True Grit Roots Network, and we are based out of Austin, Texas. All right. Well, to start off tonight, I just got to say, I love you guys because you're the most informed listening audience. Keeps me on my toes, keeps me straight. And the fact that you keep coming back every single night is just amazing, amazing to me. It is a true blessing for all of you. But it's also a curse. Yes, I am being serious. It is a curse, and let me explain why. Because you guys are the most informed listening audience, I think, hey, I'm going to come up with something really, really cool. You've already found out about it. You've already known about it. You've already seen it. And, of course, the first thing that you guys do is you start talking about it in the chat. Which, of course, kills a part of my show because this is stuff that you guys have already known. Now, I'm laughing. I'm making a joke out of this. You guys are great. Okay, you guys are great. And I love every single one of you. Oh, but I can tell you that sometimes it's a little frustrating. All right. I'm just being honest with you. All right, so let's talk about political ads. Now, most political ads are like, hi, my name is Joe Biden, and I'm going to fight for you because I know what you need, and I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to make you all kinds of promises, some of which I won't be able to keep. But you know what? I approve this message. And that's about as boring as they are. I mean, Senator so-and-so is fighting for you. Yeah, okay. That's like super boring. I'm sorry. It really is. You know, Dan Bongino is one of his favorite sayings is that politics nowadays, especially, is snapshots and sound bites. Well, what would be better than a really cool ad? Especially for somebody who is apparently not really all that familiar with the ad space, but boy, I'll tell you, or the politics space, but boy, I'll tell you, this guy may have a future. I don't know who created this for him, but damn. If nobody's paying attention to the Los Angeles mayoral race, there's a gentleman there who has decided to take on the establishment Democrats. Now, most people would look at it and go, you know what, you're going to fail. But I think this guy actually has a pretty good shot at it. And if his creative team, even if it's just him, if it's his creative team that came up with this, man, let me tell you, they have something going on for them. Give me just a second here. I got to get rid of a couple of things. That was a indicator of what I might be talking about here in just a little bit, but yeah, let's see where it is. Pretty sure. All right, you guys ready? This went viral yesterday. Okay, it did. It went viral all over X. I pulled it from Clay Travis's X account, so hat tip to him for reposting it, but yeah, take a listen and a look at this fantastic political ad.
Please, I'm begging you. There's homeless drug addicts in front of the schools. My children aren't safe.
Look, if you were a transgender migrant, I could get you a free pussy.
Let's move the drug addicts closer.
Bass already solved crime. I endorse her.
Next!
Please, I just want to rebuild my home. It's been over a year.
Mom, look!
This is a machine. If we want to burn this town to the ground, pull through that!
feel so close.
You can do it, Spencer!
Now.
Now, I know there wasn't a lot in there for the audio listeners other than the music, so let me just describe it to you really quick. It's basically a play. It's from Spencer Pratt, I believe. And let me just say, whoever created that for him, even if they didn't create it for him, it was very creative. So for those of you on the audio portion of the program, and by the way, I'm just going to tell you right now, I want to give a shout out to all of you audio only listeners. And the reason being I'm saying this is because I just passed 5,000 downloads of the audio portion of this program across all the platforms. It was a total 5,000. I've bypassed it now. I've passed over 5,000 total downloads. So I do appreciate that. That is a incredible milestone. And I love it. Spencer Pratt, man, let me tell you, whoever created this for him, if they even did it for him, whoever created this is incredibly talented with AI, because it looks obviously AI. Now, for those of you that didn't see it, what it basically was is a play off of Batman. They had the Joker. It was also a play who, by the way, was played by Karen Bass. It was also a play on the elites versus the regular people. And the elites were people like, Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris and some other folks. And what they were showing or what they were demonstrating, and they had a AI Hugh Jackman, they had an AI just regular people, and then of course Spencer Pratt. Now, Spencer Pratt was acting as Batman, and so they put up a signal in the sky. It was SP. He shows up in Spencer Pratt, in the Batman uniform, and he starts going around and throwing, the Democrat Socialists of America goon squad people around. And then they go in, and toward the end of the video, they're throwing tomatoes at all of the Democrat leftists. Brilliant ad. Doesn't do anything for anybody who's really serious to kind of figure this out, but it was brilliant. I mean, it was brilliant. It was funny. It caught everybody's attention. Obviously, the complaints are there, like there's too many drug addicts in the streets. The Hugh Jackman lookalike character was saying that all he wanted to do was rebuild his home, and it's been a year, indicating obviously the Palisades fire. Started off with the Hollywood sign in flames, which was also a hit toward the Palisades fire, so on and so forth. Anyway, congratulations to him for his creative team for what they did. I mean, that was just incredible. Speaking of California, well, the California Democrats, gubernatorial Democrats, they were up on stage, as well as the two Republicans that are running, by the way. They were up on stage in a debate last night. And, the leftist Democrats, they all were fighting over who is going to tax California more. They basically, the Democrat side of the House, which, if you're a Democrat, why do you agree to all of these taxes? Now you sit there and you say, oh yeah, that's not gonna necessarily be that's not necessarily going to be a big deal to me, because one of those taxes is of course the quote unquote one-time billionaire tax. Spoiler alert, there is never a tax that government will impose that is considered temporary or one time. I guarantee you that it will stay. Once it's in place, it will stay. And what's even more wild out of all of this is one of them is a billionaire by the name of Tom Steyer. And he actually was saying, well, you know, the truth of the matter is, you know, we need to have this tax. I agree on this tax. It's a one-time tax. And yet another one of her Democrat colleagues on stage says, well, no, actually, one time ain't going to help us. This one time isn't going to help us, which I'm telling you, it's already indicative. They're going to keep it on. And they'll probably find a way to lower it from, you know, the top 5% to like the top 15%, maybe the top 20%. No, that doesn't sound right. Let's do the top 25%. No, even that doesn't sound right. Let's go and drop it down to the top 25%. No, let's do the top 50%. And that's how it's going to go. I know you might think I'm being hyperbolic, but I swear I am not. Because as these people take off in an attempt to avoid these massive taxes, okay, jobs are going to leave, businesses are going to leave, and now all of a sudden the state is not going to be able to sustain itself, which it already doesn't. I mean, it's already in the hole. It's just like our federal government. It's trillions of dollars in debt. Or maybe for California, it might be billions. I don't know. I think it's closer to trillions. I think they're not quite at the double-digit trillions yet, but I think they definitely have a deficit running in the trillions. And they don't care. Because Democrats love other people's money. They love spending other people's money. Well, anyway, a couple of top key issues here was talking about the immigrants that were there and single-payer health care in California. That was one of the talking points. Well, let's just take a listen to these guys when they talk about single-payer health care, and let's just take a listen to see whether or not these people would actually push for it or not.
Steyer, this next question is for you.
Alex,
it's on the same topic, so you can use some of your time for that. In last year's budget, Governor Gavin Newsom cut healthcare funding for undocumented immigrants to address a budget gap. As governor, would you restore that funding?
I believe everybody in California has a right to health care. But the truth of the matter is, it is eating up our budget. And it's more than that, Alex. It is eating up every single family. You talked about how many people are giving up health care so they can make healthcare, so they can make rent. You're talking about businesses that can't compete because healthcare is so expensive. And it is eating up the budget of the state of California. When people sit here and say, let's do the same thing, we can't afford to do the same thing. It is eating up our budget. Look at the numbers. That's why I changed my mind, Katie, because I looked at the facts. Single-payer healthcare systems cost half as much as the system in total that we have now. And yes, it's going to be a big, job to get us to single-payer. But the truth is, we don't have a choice because right now, people are suffering. They're giving up healthcare. Every medical crisis turns into a financial disaster. The truth is, we don't have a choice but to go to single payer, and you need somebody who's going to fight for it. And the person who's going to fight for it.
Why do they cost less, though?
To clarify, Mr. Steyer, on the question of health care for the undocumented, I said everybody in California has a right to health care. And let's answer
California
this. California should fund that.
The truth of the matter is, immigrants built this state. Immigrants make this state run.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, we had a broken immigration system, and now you want to victimize the people who are working here and making the state run.
Thank you,
As
sir.
Antonio said, try.
Okay, so that was Steyer. He's a billionaire, and of course, he's attempting to try and get undocumented workers or undocumented immigrants, meaning illegal aliens, onto the rolls. Yeah. And you could hear in the background one of the Republicans going, when he was talking about, legal immigrants make it, have made this country, so on and so forth. And he was trying to clarify that. But anyway. Yeah. Republican Riverside Sheriff Chad Bianco fired back to Steyer and said, saying illegal immigrants shouldn't even be here. Yeah, you're right. They shouldn't. But anyway, Bianco continued and so goes, it's ridiculous. When are we going to draw the line at any other crime? It's illegal. They entered the country illegally. We're not going to incentivize them to come here to take more of the resources that regular Californians aren't getting. It absolutely makes no sense. And healthcare, no one is talking about how about we try and make people healthy. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, the Golden State under Gavin Newsom faces $18 billion budget deficit for just the 2026-2027 year, which is $5 billion more than state officials actually expected. Anyway, they asked a question, and they basically said, hey, in one word, how would you describe Governor Gavin Newsom's performance, his job performance? Well, let's take a listen to what this panel of people had to say.
I want to talk about California Governor Gavin Newsom, who's about to leave office after 8 consequential and at times controversial years. To all of you, what is one word you would use to describe Governor Newsom's performance as governor? We will go down the line, starting with you, Mayor Villaraigosa. One word to describe Governor Newsom's performance as governor.
Performative.
Bold.
Progressive.
Failed.
Steve.
Failure.
You can't take my word.
All right. Game changing.
Incomplete.
We'll be right back with more of the California governor primary debate right here on CNN.
Well, yeah. You could tell that who was who. Obviously, the two Republicans on the stage were like failed and failure. I mean, it's just anyway. So they also kind of Republican Steve Hilton made a comment on there. He was like, it's not Donald Trump who has given us gas prices $2 higher than the rest of the country. It's Democrat policies, which Antonio and all the Democrats here support. Donald Trump is the president in all other states in America where the cost of living is way lower than in California. Yeah. Now, when they were asked about a controversial billionaire tax proposal requiring Californians worth more than $1 billion to pay one-time 5% tax on their assets. Now, keep in mind, that's just this year. They'll figure out a way to make it a recurring every year kind of thing. Trust me. 2 Democrat candidates actually said that doesn't go far enough. Porter. She says it's a one-time tax, but we don't have one-time revenue needs. So in other words, Porter's like, hey, you guys are going to foot the bill. You're going to pay for everything. She said this tax isn't going to fundamentally change California's economy in the way that young people and the working people of California need. Yeah. Steyer did say that he would vote for it, which has qualified for the November ballot, but he actually wants to tax the rich even more. He goes, billionaires like me should pay more taxes, and big corporations should pay more taxes. But going forward, we do need to go further. This is a one-time tax, but it also doesn't spread the money across the government like everything else does. I have a question for Steyer. I have a question for him. And I just basically want to ask, dude, you're a billionaire. You're saying you want to pay more in taxes. Then pay more. See, this is the part that these idiots don't seem to understand. This is the part that they refuse to actually pay attention to. If you're a billionaire like Elon Musk, if you're a billionaire like Jeff Bezos, if you were a billionaire like any of the others, Bill Gates, so on and so forth, this Steyer dude, and you want to spend money? You want to spend all that money. You want to give more money. You want to have it physically taken from you in a tax. Why don't you save us all the trouble? Save us the problem of, having to make a bill, to sign it into law, to go through the legislature. Why don't you just hand over whatever you believe is over and above what you're already paying that is fair? If you think 5% of all of your assets is not enough, then, hey, freaking voluntarily pay 10%, 15%, 20%, 50%, whatever you want. Whatever you want. But he's not going to do that. And why? Because he knows. He knows that even if it does pass, he's not going to want to pay it. He's going to get his ass out. I can almost guarantee you. Okay? I can almost guarantee you that. Anyway. All right. Well, Bianco, of course, had a little bit of a response to that. He goes, so these Democrat policies of tax everybody to death and make them leave is how we started this program off to begin with. Everyone is leaving California, and it is because of their horrific policies. Yep, he hit it right on the head. There you go. There you go. So anyway, there was a talking about raising taxes, more taxes. They're talking about putting in a possible $3 gallon gas tax. Realistic in California. Is a $3 per gallon tax realistic in California for next year? Well, here's what they had to say to that.
Let's talk about the proposed billionaire tax. Just last week, a one-time 5% tax on the assets of billionaires cleared a critical hurdle.
I'm sorry, this is the billionaire tax clip. My bad.
To make the ballot in November, setting up a clash over what could be the nation's first wealth tax. Congresswoman Porter, Mr. Steyer, as we just referenced, is the only billionaire on the stage. He supports this tax. You do not. Why not?
Because I support good ideas, not things that help me dodge political potholes due to my own background. This billionaire's tax is simply not good tax policy. And anybody who has watched me in Congress take on bank CEOs, take on pharma CEOs, challenge them for the fact that their workers can't make ends meet while they're pocketing $26 million a year, knows that I will speak truth to power. And here is the truth. This tax isn't going to fundamentally change California's economy in the way that young people and the working people of California need. It's a one-time tax. But we don't have one-time revenue needs. It taxes billionaires, as if half billionaires don't have two nickels to rub together and couldn't chip in a little bit more. And 90% of the money is dedicated to only one thing, when we have all kinds of revenue problems coming at us from our own decisions and Donald Trump. So yes, to a progressive tax code. Yes, to the wealthy paying more. But this tax is about cheap political points. It is not about really fundamentally changing California's economy for the better. That's going to take real political courage.
Mr.
Okay, yeah, I can't handle her voice. I'm sorry. That's Katie Porter, the one who chastised one of her workers while she was on video a long time ago. Anyway, this was the California gubernatorial debate that happened last night, and there were 6 Democrats and 2 Republicans on the stage. Now, the one thing to remember about this is California has a top 2 primary function, okay? Top 2 primary function, meaning that if 2 Republicans, which right now looks like it's entirely possible, if 2 Republicans win the top 2 seats, California may likely have a a Republican governor next year. So we'll just have to kind of see. Anyway, these people. All right. Well, yeah, there's been a lot of talk recently with regards to how, MAGA is dying and the Republican Party is in a civil war and so on and so forth. And, well, I can tell you that MAGA is certainly not dying, okay? Because, well, you'll find out here in a minute. MAGA is certainly not dying, but what is dying, or potentially dying, is the old-style Republican Party. The old-style Republican Party is potentially on its way out. There's some indication on that. By the way, the question was asked, when will we find out if two Republicans will have the top two seats? The California gubernatorial primary election is set for June 2nd of 2026. It is June the 2nd for that gubernatorial, well, all the primaries, California's primary election, all the primaries that happen then. All right. Before I get on to the next topic, let me talk to you about freeing up your money, freeing up control of your money. Quick question. How much control do you actually have over your money right now? Well, technology has changed everything, and now it's changing how money works. Crypto started out as sort of a niche thing, but now it seems to be headed mainstream. Faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen. This isn't hype. This is just where things are going. And getting started today is actually easier than you think. That's where Rumble Wallet comes in. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, hold dollar-backed stable coins, and even own digital gold backed by real gold, all in one place. Setup is simple. It connects with Moon Pay, so you can use your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be up and running in minutes. Start small. $10, $50, $100. It's not about the amount. It's about getting in early and understanding what's coming next. And once you're all set up, you can even tip your favorite Rumble creators, like me, directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download the Rumble Wallet. From there, you can actually set up your wallet, tap buy, and now you're in the game. Take control of your money. Get started with Rumble Wallet today. Go to wallet.rumble.com for more information to check out this serious game-changing digital wallet that is yours. 100% non-custodial wallet. It is yours to keep. Go to wallet.rumble.com. That's wallet.rumble.com for all of the details, or download the Rumble Wallet from either the App Store or Google Play. That's Wallet. Apparently, taking a look at Indiana. Now, here's one of the things. When you're talking about primaries, when you're talking about polling, when you're talking about all of these indicators and everything else, that's basically what they are, is indicators, okay? That is what they are, is indicators. And, hold on. So, anyway, all they are is indicators. And they could be, indicators of something good. They could be indicators of something bad. It's just, they're just data points. It's a data point. And the thing about it is, though, is that it is a data point that a lot of these people who are in the Republican Party and being resistant to what we, the people, want, what we, the people, want for our country moving forward. Indiana had a large primary. And Indiana Well, Indiana had a series of senators who, well, let's just say they were a series of incumbent senators who, well, they didn't want to redistrict. Those incumbent senators did not want to redistrict when Donald Trump was asking for redistricting. And, well, let's just say they're not very happy today. So here is let me see if I can get this up here. Hello. Okay. There we go. All right, here is an image of the results. So, there was one incumbent, Greg Good, who won. There is a second incumbent, Spencer Deary, who has, in a very tight race, who is in a very tight margin, so they cannot project who is going to win on that. But 6 of the remaining 8 incumbents all lost. Now, granted, these are Republican state senators who were seeking re-election. But let me just put it to you like this. The incumbents, okay, the incumbency rate for American politicians is incredible. Most of the time, it's due to the fact name recognition. That's it. That is all it is name recognition. Because what ends up happening is everybody just votes for the name. They're like, oh, yeah, I remember hearing that guy, and poop, there we go. They don't care about his policies because nobody, or I should say hardly anybody, except for the crazies like myself, actually dig into some of the statistics and take a look at things like voting records and what they voted on, and take a look at those websites, those grading websites that grade people on whether or not they're conservative or anything else. And so what happened here in Indiana is, well, could be. I'm not saying it is, but it could be an indication that if you're a rhino and you've gone against the Trump train, yeah, you might have a bit of a problem keeping your seat. I'm just saying. Okay. So, yeah. And by the way, according to this report in the Federalist, Indiana Governor Mike Braun and U.S. Senator Jim Banks are now calling for the state Senate President pro tempore, Roderick Bray, to actually step down due to this electoral slaughter of his coalition. The Indiana's Republican Party, both at the state and county level, spent big to attack the more conservative candidates, and most of that spending failed to protect the incumbents. The Indiana Senate Majority Campaign Committee, which is also run by Bray, lost 2 of its steering members to primary challengers, including Majority Caucus Chair Travis Holdman, in its largest primary expenditure this year of $600,000, according to the Indiana Family Association's Michael Clark, attempted to protect Spencer Deary, whose race is currently within 3 votes of losing. The second biggest spend was $492,000, went to Senator Linda Rogers, whom Clark noted as a fairly conservative voting record, yet she lost by 18 points on Tuesday. And by points, they mean percentage points. Those two races alone sucked up nearly half of the financial stockpile that was at the end of 2025, when the Indiana Senate actually tanked redistricting efforts. Now, that isn't it. I mean, that's an indicator, but that isn't it. Because the Indiana primaries were not solely about Trump as a figure, even though corporate media in and out of state are framing the story that way, but about what kind of Republican Party the voters actually want. So you can see it down ballot in other races that actually did not include the Trump factor. More conservative candidates also scored wins in the primaries, often while fighting against their own local and state Republican parties. South Bend area county councilwoman Amy Drake won her primary against a Republican challenger who had access to huge amounts of money for a local race, spending what Drake says is some $200,000 to fly in out-of-state door knockers and airplane banner ads. Yeah. Ah, my goodness. So, Drake, by the way, Amy Drake wrote in her email newsletter on Wednesday morning, these victories represent the second set of primaries launched against Republicans on the council since 2024. That we've managed to beat the perpetrators for a second time in a row is certainly satisfying. These primary attacks were, of course, launched by the same people who now control the St. Joe County Republican Party, why many of us good R's no longer participate in their functions. David Axelrod, you know him, Axe, he's the Democrat strategist. He posted, when people ask why so many R's in office stick with the POTUS, even when it means opposing their long-held positions and principles, Indiana's results provided the answer. Survival. Trump is epically unpopular with two-thirds of the country and is an albatross to any Republican. Andrew Colvey responded and goes, I think you're missing the broader point. This was bigger than Trump. These base voters were betrayed by these senators. We are tired of politicians who lose agreeably to more aggressive, less principled Democrats. Much of the conservative movement is awake to this dynamic. Yeah. Yep. See, what I think is happening here, or what I potentially think is happening, is we've had a lot of stuff in the last 5, 6, 10, 12 plus years that a lot of people who are normally not necessarily awake to politics are listening to the news. And by the news, I'm not talking about the mainstream media, because confidence in the mainstream media is at its lowest point. But they're starting to realize that the Democrats, number one, have gone so far to the left that they are literally anti-American. And in fact, those on the proverbial horseshoe right are actually more left than the leftists in some cases. By the horseshoe right, I mean people like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, not Liz Wheeler, Megyn Kelly, that's the one. So on and so forth. When you have things like redistricting that is supposed to happen, and they start to realize that, hey, the Democrats are actually gaming the system in order to redistrict and gain more power, do we really want these leftist lunatics in power? Do we really want these leftist lunatics who are going to, trans the kids and put men in women's bathrooms and, force you to where you don't even have any control over your children anymore. You don't have control over what they learn. That, oh my gosh, being a conservative Christian is now blasphemy. All of these different things. All of these different things that mainstream Americans are not happy with. But they're also not happy with the the Republican Party, because the Republican Party has lost its balls. See, mainstream Americans are kind of like the revolutionists. For a very long time, the revolutionists were like, look, just leave us alone. Let us do our thing. Everything will be fine. Just leave us alone. Let us do what we need to do. And the British Crown is like, no, we can't leave you alone. We can't just let you have whatever free reign or whatever. We want to tax you. We want to, you guys are our cash cow right now, and we want to tax you. We want to take over. We want to control you. Yeah, well, the American spirit doesn't like being told that, or at least the true American spirit doesn't like to be told that. The true American spirit is basically independence. I take responsibility for myself. I'm also accountable for those actions, but I am responsible for myself. I don't want government intervention. I don't want the government to tell me what to do, what I can wear, where I can go, who I can see, what I can, what I can eat, all of that stuff. But that's what's happening, is the Democrat Party is attempting to take over and make government control everything. And middle America, who usually doesn't pay attention to such stuff because they typically have their heads down, working toward whatever their goal is. Okay? Yeah. So to get back to this story about Indiana, this is a deeper story than a lot of people really think. Over in Fort Wayne, Indiana, the state's second largest city, a similar dynamic is underway, complicating the surrounding county's appalling inability this year to deliver election results on election night. The Republican Party primary race between Trump-endorsed State Senator Liz Brown and Banks-backed challenger Darren Vogt is currently within 100 votes and not fully counted as of this writing due to apparently poor election management. You don't think that the Republicans, the American-loving Republicans who have faith normally in our institutions of elections, that they should be 100% fair and above board? You don't think that the average American, the average everyday American, is going to be satisfied with the idea that, oh, you don't need to worry about that. Yeah, it's just going to take us, 2, 3, 4 months to count things? No. And when it comes to voter ID, as I've pointed out on this program, 83% of all the electorate, Democrats, Independents, Republicans, all rolled up into one. 83% want voter ID. They want the SAVE Act. And yet the Republicans are lacking the balls to actually push it through. It only has one more hurdle to go. That's the Senate. And they're lacking the balls to push it through. And you don't think the average everyday American who keeps hearing that is not going to get pissed? Is not going to get mad? All right. Now, the local voters, by the way, according to this piece in the Federalist again, these primary results are not wholly about Trump. If that was the case, the incumbent Trump endorsed solely for her very prominent support for redistricting should have won by a large margin, like most of the other Trump endorsed state senators have. Instead, Liz Brown got electorally spanked, even if she does eke out a narrow win by defecting from her base voters' priorities through single-handedly blocking a robust state immigration enforcement bill this year, blocking a constitutional carry bill, and voting against a bill to protect girls from competing when cross-dressing males in high school sports. See, this is more of a referendum. I wouldn't necessarily call it a referendum. I don't want to use that. But this is more of a policy fight. This is a policy fight. So regardless of whether you're a Republican or not, or whether you're backed by Trump or not, the policies that you advocate for, like Brown, even if Voight loses, they still look at this as, well, Brown should have won and carried this space very well, even though she doesn't back American values like robust immigration, like constitutional carry, like protecting girls from competing against males. See, Trump endorsement of Brown didn't overcome those things. It helps. Don't get me wrong, it helps. But it appears if you look at Indiana as a let's call it a canary in the coal mine, it is entirely possible that the American people are once again revolting against the establishment. Because once again, we brought Trump back. We did it for a reason. Because Trump is doing policies that are America first. He's doing most of the things that we as Americans want him to do. And candidates who don't get on board with the fact that, hey, this is what most Americans want, well, we're starting to take note. Apparently, at least down at the grassroots level, people who normally don't pay attention to this stuff are starting to wake up and pay attention, which is good. Which is good. All right. Well, big win. Big win in Ohio. Big win in Ohio. Vivek Ramaswamy has won the Ohio GOP gubernatorial primary, and he won it handily. Now, keep in mind, Ramaswamy grabbed national attention when he ran for 2024's presidential nomination before dropping out and becoming a surrogate for Donald Trump. Last night, he defeated long-shot rival Kerry Putsch, who is an automotive entrepreneur. His victory, of course, sets the stage for a high-profile general election battle for governor in this key Midwest state. So, yeah, he is apparently going to face off against Democrat Amy Acton, who is a doctor and researcher who served as director of the state's Department of Health from 2019 to 2020. Now, Acton was unopposed as she captured the Democratic gubernatorial nomination in Ohio. And the winner in November will, of course, succeed Governor Mike DeWine, who, by the way, is also a rhino, I'm told. But he can't run anyway. He's term limited, which is sort of what's happening to Governor Newsom down in California. Ramaswamy said to his supporters at his primary victory celebration, "I'm proud to officially say that today it is our pleasure to become the Republican nominee for the governor of Ohio." He pledged to make Ohio greater than we have ever been. That's what we're about to do together. So thank you for kicking off the next chapter of this journey. In pointing to his Democratic rival, Acton, Ramaswamy said, I do believe this marks without exception the single most consequential election for governor that our state has ever seen in our history. There has never been a greater contrast between two candidates. So, yeah. Now, the Democratic Governors Association, of course, took quick aim at Ramaswamy and said, Vivek Ramaswamy is an out-of-touch presidential also-ran whose harmful agenda would drive costs even higher and make life harder for Ohio families already struggling to make ends meet. Yeah, I doubt it. We'll see. I doubt it. Anyway. Now, just keep in mind, Ohio has shifted to the right over the past decade. Trump carried the state by 11 points in 2024, but polls indicate that this year's race for governor is going to be extremely, extremely competitive. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance actually traveled to his home state this morning, stopping at a polling station in Cincinnati to cast a ballot in the primary. So there you go. Yeah, he cast his ballot, by the way, for Ramaswamy. No surprise there. No surprise there. All right. So, we now have an answer for a couple of states in terms of how they're going to redistrict. Tennessee has put forward a new electoral map. And, by the way, see if I can get the photo of the map. Yeah. Here's the Tennessee Senate GOP. This was their ex-post with regards to the redistricting. New districts unlocked. Yeah, the whole thing is red. They anticipate Tennessee to have 0 Democrat districts. 0. Now, granted, there was only 1. I mean, let's be honest. This is only going to be a gain of 1, if anything. So apparently what's going to happen is it's going to divide the majority black district in Shelby County and potentially displacing the current representative Steve Cohen, who's also there, and also alters the Maury County to favor Republican incumbent Randy Ogles. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. Anyway, the point is that if it is passed, it would likely ensure a Republican sweep in Tennessee's congressional delegation. Now, keep in mind, when you hear me or anybody else sit there and say, yeah, this is going to be a Republican sweep, we honestly don't really know. It's anticipated because of the way that, you know, the counties within the district have voted, the areas that now comprise the new district, their historical, voting record, and so on and so forth. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's guaranteed to happen. You could actually see a district switch or stay the same, in terms of if it gets redistricted in the area that gets added to a already Republican district, it could come out to be, could come out and be Democrat instead of Republican. But that being said, this is just yet another little tick toward the Republicans for the 2026 midterms. Well, I mentioned it a few days ago. Looks like Mississippi is now back on the docket. Today, Mississippi may be opening the door towards redistricting in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision on race-based gerrymandering. Governor Tate Reeves himself made the announcement in an exclusive interview with the Daily Caller. So the ex-post that announced this says Mississippi Republican Governor Tate Reeves is opening the door to redrawing several of his state's electoral maps after the Supreme Court handed Republicans a major win against race-based redistricting. Reeves told the Daily Caller in an exclusive interview Wednesday that Mississippi lawmakers are already preparing for a special session focused on the state's Supreme Court districts, but he said that he has the authority to expand that call to include other redistricting matters, potentially including its congressional and state legislative maps. Mississippi, according to Reeves, now has 3 separate redistricting fights in play. He says we have Supreme Court districts, congressional districts, which is what everybody in Washington, D.C. cares about, and then we have legislative districts. The most immediate issue is Mississippi State's Supreme Court map. A federal judge ruled last year that Mississippi's 3 Supreme Court districts violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, triggering a remedial phase that could force lawmakers to redraw the districts. Well, again, apparently it didn't violate it. So now they're going back to the drawing board with that. Now, that, of course, doesn't have anything necessarily to do with redrawing congressional districts. However, the governor made it clear that a special session, or that the special session, may not stop there. Reeves explained, I have the ability as governor constitutionally to either remove that call of the special session or to add it for the purposes of any other topic, which could include other redistricting matters. This means that Mississippi could join other Republican-led states reassessing their maps after the decision by SCOTUS. Reeves specifically pointed to Mississippi's congressional map, which includes one majority-minority district that is currently represented by none other than Democrat Representative Benny Thompson. So, Now, by the way, right now it's unclear whether or not this could actually happen before this year's midterms. But even if it happens afterward, that still sets up 2028 for a nice setup for that. So, anyway, keep in mind the Democrats have been doing it. California and Virginia. California, of course, the SCOTUS, our SCOTUS, refused to take a look at that case, or at least refused to stop it. Virginia, of course, is still waiting for their Supreme Court, their state Supreme Court, to come down with a decision, which, by the way, experts have been indicating that because they didn't come back with something immediately last Friday, that means that it's a less than 50-50 shot, meaning that it's going to be more like a 60-40 shot that they're going to turn it down. So, yeah. Anyway. And by the way, too, don't forget, California, New York, Illinois, a lot of these Democrat states, Washington, a lot of these Democrat states are actually bleeding population. So even if they do redistrict this year and then redistrict again after 2030, okay, we could be looking at a huge electoral slide. I mean, the vast majority of Californians are moving to places like Texas and Florida, which are Republican. So, yeah. Yeah, we'll have to kind of see where that goes. All right. Well, in a interesting little undercurrent that I don't think anybody's really paid attention to, because let's face it, there's just so much in the news media sphere right now. There's just so much in the news pipeline. Speaking of pipelines, something like this might have slipped through the cracks. Donald Trump signed an executive order to revive the Keystone XL pipeline. And that has now secured nearly all of the commitments that it needs in order to restart building it. Now, you'll remember the Keystone XL pipeline was that pipeline that would transport oil from Canada to the U.S. Companies are looking to move the energy through the infrastructure if it is brought online. So oil companies have committed to transporting 400,000 barrels of oil per day, which is approximately 72% of the pipeline's initial capacity, according to Reuters. Companies typically secure about 80% of the pipeline's capacity before moving forward with construction. In other words, these are promises right now. Now, the pipeline, which is a project by Canada's South Bow Corp and its U.S. partner, Bridger Pipeline, takes a different route than the original Keystone XL pipeline, which former President Joe Biden blocked when he was elected president immediately in 2021. President Donald Trump signed an executive order granting the cross-border permit the project needed. The Canadian portion of the project revives part of the original Keystone XL that was previously built and has since been sitting idle. On the American side, the pipeline would take a different route than the Keystone XL originally did, running 645 miles through Montana to Guernsey, Wyoming. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The Wyoming town doesn't connect the pipeline to an end market, and it would still need to be linked up with the refining hubs in Oklahoma, Illinois, or down on the Gulf Coast. So it's not quite there yet, but it's getting closer. And it should come back. It should come back. We need it. We definitely need it. Well, J.D. Vance announced and talked about his anti-fraud task force. Apparently, he has found 186,000 people who are no longer with us. For those on the left, they're dead. And yet, for some reason, the dead are still collecting SNAP benefits. That's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Now, I think once you're dead, you have no need for nutrition anymore. According to an appearance at an Iowa rally yesterday, J.D. Vance stated, we've got 186,000 dead people getting SNAP benefits, 186,000 dead Americans getting food stamps right now. I know the fake news media is going to say that the big headline from this speech is, J.D. Vance proposes that we take away food stamps. That's what they're going to say, he said. I actually think we should take food stamps away from dead people. I would agree. There's no reason why dead people need nutrition. Anyway. Yeah. Excuse me. Cholera. Anyway, Trump obviously has made fraud crackdown a central part of his domestic agenda. And voters, of course, have expressed concern about affordability. Well, you got to clean up the fraud. You got to cut out the waste. You got to cut out the abuse in order to make things a little bit more affordable from the government standpoint. Anyway, Vance said Tuesday also that finding fraud in the federal government is kind of like fishing in a barrel with dynamite. Okay. I've never done that before, but I can imagine it's pretty easy. Anyway, he said he was shocked every single day by the things the task force has discovered. He goes, Brooke Rollins has found out that we've got 355,000 people on SNAP benefits receiving double benefits, and that we've got 186,000 dead people getting SNAP benefits. Yeah. Okay. He also said that Rollins told him that she has found people who have Lamborghini cars who currently receive SNAP benefits. Now, I tend to agree with Vance in this statement. He says, I'm a pretty conservative guy, but I would like to think that 95% of the United States of America would agree that if you're wealthy enough to afford a Lamborghini, you're wealthy enough to not receive SNAP benefits from the American people. I'd agree with you there, boss. That's all I'm saying. All right. Well, did I skip something? I may have. Yes, I did. Well, apparently Virginia got a visit from the FBI. So, according to this report in Fox News, the FBI has raided the office of a powerful Virginia Democrat lawmaker and an ally of the current governor Spanberger, as part of a federal corruption and illegal marijuana sales probe. Longtime state senator L. Louise Lucas, who is a major power broker in Virginia politics, she stumped for Spanberger on the campaign trail in 2025, and she is now at the center of a major FBI corruption probe. Democrats and corruption, they're almost synonymous with each other. Anyway, so apparently a federal law enforcement source familiar with the case clarified that the corruption probe was opened by the FBI during the Biden administration. Agents executed court-authorized criminal search warrants at Lucas's office in Portsmouth, Virginia on Wednesday, according to law enforcement sources. The FBI simultaneously carried out a SWAT team search of a nearby cannabis dispensary co-owned by Senator Louise Lucas. And at least 3 people were detained during that raid. Now, the state senator showed up at her office as the raids were being conducted. She told Fox News she had no idea what the FBI agents were doing there. So, yeah. Anyway. A spokesperson for Spanberger, told Fox News Digital that the governor is aware of today's law enforcement operation in Portsmouth. Spokesperson added that in the absence of additional details, the governor will not be commenting on the federal investigation at this time. So there you go. And by the way, this apparently isn't the first political firestorm that Lucas has faced. In addition to serving in Virginia's Senate President pro tempore and chair of the Finance and Appropriations Committee, she's also the co-owner of that cannabis business. The cannabis shop has previously faced scrutiny after investigation reported that some products were allegedly mislabeled or exceeded the legal THC content limits, raising regulatory concerns under Virginia law. She obviously has been a longtime supporter of marijuana legalization in Virginia, co-sponsoring the 2021 law that legalized possession and continuing to back efforts to establish a regulated retail market. Now, dumb question for anybody who's maybe not quite paying attention, but don't you think if she owns a cannabis shop that she should abstain from any laws that deal with cannabis? I mean, an ethical person would do that. A moral person would do that. Yeah. All right. So, there you go. Anyway, she also is apparently very, let's just say, heavy on crude language and using memes on her X account. So there you go. Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. There's that. Also, too, speaking of legal issues, apparently New Jersey's Attorney General is, just sort of ignoring the SCOTUS ruling. And she, or he, I don't know, let's see. Who is this person? Yes, New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Platkin has gone after First Choice. Now, I don't know if anybody noticed or if I didn't tell you this, but there was a SCOTUS ruling that First Choice did not have to hand over documents to New Jersey with regards to their donors, that it was a violation of First Choice's First Amendment rights. And apparently this AG has, decided that, no, I'm going to ignore that. So there you go. Anyway, so you'll recall back on April 29th is when the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 in favor of First Choice Pregnancy Resource Centers. After the demand of the decade's worth of documents, including statements on any abortion pill reversals, any information it provided to clients and donors, documentation of identifying personnel, copies of every advertisement, donor solicitation, information about outside organizations, etc., etc. The First Choice executive director called the subpoenas a fishing expedition. Now, First Choice took it to the lower courts. The lower courts ruled against them. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in their favor, saying that they had the right to sue the AG in federal court. Now, despite this ruling, New Jersey's Attorney General Jennifer Davenport has returned to a state court demanding that the state court enforce the subpoena anyway. So, yeah. There you go. So the AG is basically at the point now where they're just like, no, we're just going to go ahead and go after it. All right. Well, before I get to tonight's pet of the week, people in New York might be waking up to the fact that socialist Democrat policies are probably not the best thing in the world. Because according to a poll of 806, now granted 806 out of 20, 30 million people who all live in New York is not necessarily a huge sample size. However, this poll of 806 New York voters demonstrates that 67%, 2/3 of those 806, believe that the state's cost of living itself is out of control, according to the New York Post. They were asked whether the state's cost of living was on the right track or the wrong track, and only 27% said that it was on the right track. Incredibly, 59% of Democrats, yes, 59% of identified Democrats complained about New York's cost of living, as did 71% of independents. Yeah. Well, no offense, but I don't feel sorry for you guys. I really don't. I really don't. You guys deserve it, quote unquote, good and hard. All right. Tonight's pet of the week was submitted by Coco a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't have it available last week. So let's go ahead and get on to tonight's pet of the week. All right. So tonight's pet of the week, Coco writes, I'm sending you these pics of Luna. Excuse me while I get Luna up here. She says, I'm sending you these pics of Luna because I find them quite funny. Well, there's a pic of Sean in here too, but here's Luna. So, and I'll explain here in just a second with Sean. But apparently he owns the cool Cat in the Hat hat. Well, here's Luna. And Luna has decided to investigate and get inside the Cat in the Hat hat. So apparently we now have a cat inside the Cat in the Hat hat. She's deciding to check it out. You know, I have a theory about kitties. Kitties have literally a mechanism by which they say, essentially, if I fits, I sits. And, well, she's giving it a try here. She is literally trying to do the best she can to get into that hat. Because, again, if she fits, she's going to sit. Well, the owner of the Cat in the Hat hat also wanted to display it. And so here, by the way, is Sean with the Cat in the Hat hat on. For those of you that don't know, Sean had a birthday recently. I did sing happy birthday for him, and Coco posted it in our Facebook group of him singing along with me as I sang him happy birthday. So there he is. And once again, we have the if I fits, I sits look on the kitty's face. She says, it's time. I need to try this out. All right. The Cat in the hat is almost a tongue twister. Yeah, I agree. Oh, all righty, folks. Well, that is it for me for this evening. And do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com. Get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. After, of course, you search up my channel, you got to find it. Anyway, before you take off too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs sideways, or at an angle, or 3 Chevy, across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.